Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 198. Today I'm going to review Bruges. I had to actually look up how to pronounce this. I was calling it Brug or Bruges or something like that. It's pronounced Bruges, at least according to Google. This is a Stefan Feld game, just came out or is just coming out from Z-Man Games. Plays 2 to 4 players. Box is 60 minutes. Definitely right on the ballpark mark there. I played it with 3 and 4. Haven't played it with 2 yet. I think it would be fine with 2. But yeah, you can definitely play this quickly, but it is not a super light game. I wouldn't really call it a filler, but it's kind of borderline filler in some ways. Let me go in and show you how it plays, and I'll come back and give you a little bit more of my thoughts. Okay, you can see I got the game here set up for 4 players. Each player's got a little pawn in their color. They're going to put those on the 5-point mark on the victory point track, which goes around the board. They're also going to take one of their pawns and they're going to put it on this little house, and then as you take an action here, you'll be able to move up this track here, and this is sort of like a reputation track. Then if we take a little bit of a zoom in here, you can see there's a little disc here. So if I'm the yellow player, maybe I'm sitting on this side of the table, this shows the canal network that I'm going to be building in. So I'm going to build either in this direction or this direction, and you can also see here the blue marker here. So each player has a little marker there. You can see the red one there and then the green one there, and that shows you where you're going to build your canals. Then players are going to start off with $5 each, and then they get one of these little tiny workers here. And you can see these come in 5 colors, and these are the 5 colors that are going to be consistent throughout the game. They're going to match the 5 different colored dice, the 5 different canal types of spaces, and also the 5 different colors of cards. So you can see all these cards here have different colored backs, and they also indicate what color person is going to be on the other side. So we've got a blue back here with a blue person on that side. Finally, each player is going to get these little bonus markers here. So everybody gets the 3 same bonus markers. Then you're going to put these face down, so to speak, with the gray side showing up. And then at different points at the end of the round, you're going to check if you have a majority in one of these 3 things. I'll talk about this in a minute. But once you have a majority, you're going to flip that up, and then that shows you're going to get 4 points at the end of the game. Now the very first thing that you're going to do is draw cards every round. So to start the game off, you don't have any cards. And based on the number of players, you're going to divide up this giant deck of cards. I'm not going to go into the details, it's really simple, but throughout the game you're basically going to have 2 stacks of cards that you can draw from, and the game comes with these cool little trays here. It's pretty neat. So you're going to draw cards, you draw up to 5. And as you draw, you can't actually look at the cards, you can only see the color here. So we can see, okay, this is a purple one, I'll put that in my hand. Now we've got another purple one here, and now we've got a brown one here, so maybe I'll take that brown one just to be different. I've got a yellow one here, and then you're going to draw up to 5. So you can't actually look at the cards on the other side until you're done drawing up to 5. So you can only see the backs, the color of the card, which is going to be important. So once everybody's drawn up to 5 cards, then whoever the current start player is going to take these dice and roll them. So let's just roll them and get a little bit of an example there. Okay, that's good. So we're going to go ahead and just put these in ascending order, and this is just sort of for ease of viewing, so to speak. So there we've got a 1, 2, 3, 3, and a 5. Now this is significant. So the first thing that you're going to check here is you're going to see any 5s and 6s that you may have rolled. And for each 5 and 6 that you're going to roll, you're going to take a threat marker of the color. So everybody is going to get, in this case, a red threat marker. And you can see these are all thirds of a circle here. So in this case I would have taken 1 red threat marker here. You can see on the back side they give you some icons to show you what kind of badness they do, and all these are very bad. But you don't have to worry about them until you get your 3rd one. So as soon as you get a 3rd red one, you're going to have to do some kind of dastardly effect to yourself, and then you'll discard these. So as you start to accumulate these, you're going to have to start to try and worry about preventing this catastrophe from happening to you. The next thing that you're going to look at is you're going to look at any 1s and 2s. So you're going to take the total value of all the 1s and 2s. In this case we've got 3. So 1, 1, and then 2. So we add that up, and that's 3. And then going around in player order, every player has the opportunity to advance up the reputation track equal to the value of all the 1s and 2s combined. So if we, for some reason, rolled all 5 1s, it would be $5 worth. So in this case, everybody has a chance to spend $3, and they can go up 1 spot on the reputation track. You can only go up once per round. So maybe green and blue decide to go up, and red and yellow decide to save their money. So again, after drawing cards, refilling to 5 cards, rolling the dice, and then resolving the threat and the reputation track, then we're going to play 4 rounds. basically 1 card per round. Now there are some abilities that will let you play additional cards or possibly draw extra cards, but you basically play down until you have 1 card or no cards, and then we're going to finish out the round there, and we're going to verify 3 majorities, which I'll talk about in a second. But let's go ahead and talk about these cards that you'll be playing here. Now all of the cards have 6 possible things they can do. Now 5 of the things that you can do, all of the cards can do that. So if you look at this banner here, so all of the cards have these banners that show the first 5 actions that you can possibly do. And then the 6th action is basically sort of, you can get these people into play, and then they all have a little individual, text type of thing that they can do there. So let's talk about these 5 sort of basic actions. Now the first one here is if you discard the card, you can get 2 workers of that color. So I play this one here, and I take 2 of these little red workers there and add it to my stash. The next thing you can do is you can discard it for getting money. So you look at the die here, so in this case I played a red one. I'd look at this red die here, so it's currently a 5. I would get 5 money. The next thing is this one here. So you can see this one actually gets rid of a threat token. So remember, this round we got a red threat token, and we don't want to get too many of those. So you can discard the card here and then get rid of that color token. So here we can get rid of, a yellow token. Anytime you get rid of a threat token, either through this effect or possibly through some effects here, you're also going to get 1 victory point there. Now the next thing you can do is you can build a canal with the card. So if we look here at the yellow player, they're going to start here from sort of the home little base there, and then right now they can either build the blue canal or the yellow canal. And to do that, you need to discard a card of that color. So let's say we're going to build a yellow canal. We're going to discard this, and then you're going to have to pay that amount. So you can see they go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can discard this, pay $1, and then I'll take one of these little blue markers here and then put it over like so. So from now on, now I can build this one or this one. So if I built this one here, then I could build the blue 3 or the blue 1. So you have to sort of build an adjacent, sort of grow it out as sort of a little miniature network there. So as you build these out, you kind of want to get these out a little bit, because if at the end of the game you have canals going up to, you can see they got the 2 3-point victory markers here. So at this point in the game, if I had built the canals out like so, I'd get 6 points. 3 for this one and 3 for this one. If you ever hit the 5th spot on either of these, so let's say I built out 2 more through the course of the game, then you're going to take the top statue tile here. And these start at 7 and then they go down to 2. So you hit that, you get your 5th one, you'll take whatever the top one was that's available, maybe just put it right there, and then you're going to get these points at the end of the game. Now the 5th action that you can do is actually can turn this guy into a building. And to do that, you need to discard a worker of this color here. So if I discarded a purple worker there to the discard, then I can turn him over, put him face down in front of me, and now I've got a building that I can then place another person into. So you've got to have buildings to place people into, and then then you can start to use their special effects. And you can also see here that buildings will give you 1 point per building at the end of the game. So we've talked about the 5 actions here. You can get workers, get money, get rid of threat, build a canals, turn this guy into a building. The 6th thing you can do is actually put somebody into the building. Now you can see here, here's a dollar amount here, and usually the ones that cost more are better. And so we've got $12, $3, $6. So what you can do is you can pay this money to the bank and then put them into an empty building. The colors don't have to match or anything like that. You can just put anybody you want into a building. And so the other thing you're going to notice here is that the dollar amount actually corresponds almost directly to the number of victory points. So it's usually the dollar amount divided by 3 is the number of victory points. So you put this guy in here, pay the $12, he's in there, you've got an ability now that you can use, and then you've also got some points here. Not only 1 point for the building, but in this case 4 points for the person. So let's talk about the individual side of these cards here. So the first thing to note here is you can see the type here. So you've got a noble, merchant, protector, another noble, scholar. There'll be certain card effects that will combo off and work off maybe the number of nobles that you have or the number of different types that you have all together. So that's just sort of an attribute of the card there. Then you've also got here, you can see these little gray boxes here. And these are the types of actions that you can do. Now the first type of action here, you can see this little arrow. Any card with this, basically whatever this effect is, it's going to happen immediately when you play the card, and then that's it. It's not going to happen ever again in that game. So this one says immediately discard up to 3 threat markers, and then get 1 point for each threat marker discarded that way. So this can be a quite effective card if you've got a buildup of threat markers. So any card, again, with the arrows, you play it and it immediately happens. The next type of thing, you can see these ones with workers. So when you play this, it doesn't do anything. But on your turn, once per turn, you can discard a worker of that color to take this action. So I could discard a red worker. For every 3 built canal tokens, I get 1 point. So you can do it again this once per turn. So I could play this guy and then immediately discard a red worker, and the game says to rotate that just so you don't forget, but it comes back around to your turn again, you can do it again. So there's little combos here. So like this guy here, I can do that, and then actually says that's just, there's a 3 there. It probably doesn't show up on the camera, but so I can get $3 a turn as long as I've got red workers and this guy is in a building that I could use. So there's a couple other types here. Let's talk about these here. These have the little infinity symbol, and these are just effects that are sort of like always on. So like this one is once per round you can get a point, and this one is you may now perform every immediate action twice. So if I had this one out and then I played this guy, I could play that and do it twice. There's a whole mess of these. I'm not going to go too crazy on this, but so these with the infinity symbol are just something out there, and it's sort of a state effect, something you've got to sort of keep in mind. Now the last type here is these little laurels here, and so these are always going to be end of game bonuses here. So you're still going to get points for the card, but you're also, in this case, at the end of the game, for each crown person, so for each noble in your play area, you get 2 points. So if you've got a bunch of nobles there, this would be a good idea to get out. So those are the different 6 actions. So after everybody's taken 4 actions, then we're going to verify majorities. And again, there's 3 majorities in the game. This is pretty interesting here. So let's take a look at the reputation one here. So you can see this picture of that building actually matches that building there. So if you are ever alone in the lead up here, so if you're tied with somebody, it doesn't matter, then nobody's going to get this majority. So if you're alone in the lead, you get to flip this up, and at some point in the game, basically that means you were in the lead. So if somebody catches up to you, you don't lose this. It just stays up. So this is an interesting way that this works. So if whoever's in the lead there maybe flips that up. The next one here is for the canals. You basically count the number of canal pieces here, and if you ever have the most by yourself, again, then you get to have the majority of the canals. Lastly, the majority here is for people cards. So those are the number of people that you have in buildings. Again, you have to have the most all by yourself, and you get to do that. So you're going to check that at the end of every round, and then once you have that majority once, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Now you're going to play the game until you basically run out of one of these decks. So let's say we've gone through a bunch of cards here. I'll just take some of these out, and then we've depleted that deck. Well, you're always going to have a deck of leftover cards. You're going to immediately take that and stick this in the empty spot here, but that's going to signal the last round. You're going to play the round out, and then you're going to total up your total points. So the best way to talk about that is to walk down these handy player aid cards, and there's several of these in the game for all the different actions and things. So you're going to get each person's printed value points. You're going to get 1 point again for each house, for each building. You're going to take a look at any of the end of game bonus effects, like in the case of this king here. And then you're going to look at any majorities that you may have scored during the game, if you scored any. Sometimes people don't. Then you're going to look at, again, the canals. So if you've got, these 3 spaces hit here, and then any statues, you're going to add that. So we get the canals and the statues. Then you're going to look at where you are on the reputation track, because if we zoom in here, let's zoom in a little bit there, you're basically going to get as many points as you are up there. Now the last thing to look at here are these threats. I remember when I said you complete a full circle of one of these colors, something bad's going to happen. So if we look at the yellow ones here, if you get a full circle of these, return all of your guilders, and those are your coins, to the bank. That can be bad. Flood, return all workers to the bank. That's also bad. Fire, so you can remove one of your houses, and if you remove a house here that has a person in it, the person goes back to your hand, otherwise you just discard the house. Or you can do that, or remove one of your canal tokens. You always have to remove one that's sort of at the end of your row there. And then you've got the pest here, discard one of your people. The people are the people that are in your buildings. And then finally the purple one, you just lose 3 points. And that is the game. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. There is a sheet here that comes with the game that explains just about every card. I think it does. You don't really need it. It's just sort of a clarification, sort of a validation of, okay, does this card really do what I think it does? Yes, it does. To me, all the card abilities are very clear, and they make a lot of sense in how they're going to work. Now, what is this game like to play? Well, let's think of some comments that came up during gameplay. Some of these were by me. So at some point I was like, boy, I like games where I don't get to do stuff. Okay, so, or why, Steffenfeld, why are you trying to punch me in my eye? Alright, that's another comment. So you can look at the subtitle of the review, basically kind of Race for the Galaxy, kind of Ankh-Morpork. And the reason for that is the cards, instead of like being dual purpose cards, where Race, you're basically looking at it for multiple levels in Race, and also in this game, because again, each thing can do basically 6 things, or 7, depending how you kind of look at it, because some of them you can use multiple times. So it becomes a very constricting, sort of restraining type of thing, not necessarily in a bad way, because you definitely need money to build canals, you need money to put the peoples into buildings, you need workers maybe to activate some of those abilities on some of those people, and you want to get cards out that have some of those infinity symbol effects on them, so that you can get, especially early, so you can get sort of chain reactions and lots of bonus effects and things like that. But a lot of times you've also got to worry about getting canals early, because you want to try to get out to the lead, or you want to get out the reputation track, which also costs money. And you want to get people out early, so you want to score those bonuses, because that's 12 points, and that's relatively significant towards the end of the game scoring. And a lot of times you're not going to ever feel like you have enough room to maneuver, which is indicative. It's a Euro trait, and it's also very much a Feld trait. So there's a lot of times where it's very interesting, especially when you're drawing the cards, because you're like, okay, I've got like 2 blue threat tokens, so I'd really like a blue card so I can discard that to get rid of one, but you don't see a blue card, so you're like, dang. Or you're building up canals and you don't get any cards that match the canals outside the network. So you're not going to get what you want to do usually. You just won't be able to do what you want, okay? Sometimes you will, but there's going to be a lot of times you're like, boy, I'm not going to do what is immediately obvious to do. But through kind of like worming through the cards, and especially as you play this a few times or even several times, you're going to start to figure out ways to sort of manipulate the cards and get squeeze some extra actions out of the cards. Now, it's very much a card game, though, in a sense. So if you are going into this as kind of a let's call it like a Trajan or a Burgundy type of Feld player, then maybe this isn't going to hit you on that same cylinder. But if you're coming in as sort of a San Juan type of person, Race for the Galaxy type of person, you're going to be okay with losing to card draw. So played this a few times now, and I've definitely seen games where somebody got a nice combo early, or sometimes didn't get a nice combo early, and the game was sort of dependent on that. Now sometimes that kind of stuff can land in your lap, or you can kind of have a struggle. So the dynamics of the game are such that you don't really directly interact with other players, so that type of effect isn't going to happen. Yes, you're trying to beat them, and so there is that sort of interaction of I need to get ahead here, but in a sense it's like you kind of have to deal with the cards yourself. Yes, you got to consider what everybody else is doing 100% for sure, because if you've got the opportunity to take that upper hand in the reputation track or something like that, then maybe you should take it, but maybe that isn't the best use of your time and of your cards. So that's all very abstract, but it's very tightly integrated, and very much like, I'm trying to get at sort of an emotion here. It's very much like, come on, I'm trying to get this done, but the game isn't letting me. And even in games where I've won, going away, not like I won by 50 or anything, it's like I won by like 10, that's usually the margin of victory, is like 10 to 15. I've seen, somebody up ahead, or everybody's bunched up tightly. If somebody gets a lead, it's only like by 10 points. But again, it's very much, let's get back to my initial analogy here. You've Race for the Galaxy S, you really have tough decisions of what to do with the cards. because the card effects are great, and you basically have to mostly use the cards not for their effects, which I think is frustrating the first time I played it, for sure, because I was like, I'm not doing anything. I want to use these effects, but you can't. You have to pick the effects that you want to use and then kind of base your strategy around that. Well, that kind of gets into more of the Ankh-Morpork kind of thing, if you've played that, where you're kind of dealt a fistful of cards, and then you're like, well, what's the best one to do here? Which one can I keep back? Which one should I hold for a while? Because I know this will probably be good later. And things like this. So you basically have that sort of handcuffed, feeling of trying to basically fight your way out of this crappy hand of cards that you were dealt. But it's the same for everybody. Okay, so I hope I can kind of express that. I don't want to get too much and go through all the different abilities of the cards. I mean, that would be boring for you. It would be boring for me to talk about. Because you're going to get different cards every time, and you're going to score big points different times. I've seen games where somebody completes both sides of the canal, and then other games where maybe one person gets one statue, and then there's a couple canal pieces. And then you're getting more points through a giant sort of tableau or display of people, and a lot of points are in there. So the game is going to sort of work out very differently based on what you kind of go for. And then the only thing is, I would just kind of suggest and throw out there, is if you're a Trage Under type of guy, then the card draw, it might drive you a little bit bananas. Now, I like San Juan and Race for the Galaxy and stuff like that. And this is definitely, to me, sort of a Feldian kind of thing of trying to, maneuver through that mine shaft of a card draw. So to me, it's a card game. It's got a board and stuff, and things you're interacting with to sort of bounce off the cards. But it's very much a card game, not necessarily, a more traditional, drier sort of, stagnant, strategically Euro type of thing. But I enjoy it. We've got the 3 Feld so far this year, Bora Bora, this one, and Rialto. I think they're all 3 staying in my collection. Bora Bora is for sure. This one is probably the second most likely, and Rialto is still really likely to stay in there. And so that's basically sort of the, if you wanted to get into Feld games, you got your Bora Bora's much heavier than this, and then this one is heavier than Rialto, and then Rialto's, pretty much sort of a filler, kind of almost gateway level kind of thing. So, anyway, I think my biggest suggestion is I would say definitely try it. Give it a couple of plays. I think my first time I was very frustrated with it. Not so much that I was I was dreading a second play. I was happy to jump right in. And so then we played it a few more times. And yeah, I like it. I really like it. And I think that the presentation of the hand that you're going to get is going to make it interesting. And it's like, okay, what's my challenge today? It's going to be different than it was last time. Let's figure out a way to get a respectable score. Okay, thanks.